There have been several stories that have been brought to my attention today. One of those stories, well, you know what? I think this good news perhaps for us who are Resident Evil fans out there, chat. Resident Evil fans who have not been a fan of many of the adaptations that we've gotten over the last 20 plus years. However, I would say one of the worst adaptations is one of the most recent ones, Chad, and that is Netflix's Resident Evil series. It seemed to not even follow any of the events of the games at all, Chad. It seemed to willfully disregard canon and just, the Resident Evil history in general, Chad, just to do their own thing. The show, as I said during my review, it feels like it's Resident Evil only in name. It really has more in common with like other zombie movies or other zombie TV shows like The Walking Dead. Like you could literally remove a couple of character names, and like change the umbrella company. It could have been a prequel series to The Walking Dead. So I was not a fan. You can check out my review right now. It's on my YouTube channel, chat. This is coming from Deadline. And I think other publications have talked about it as well. But Resident Evil series has been canceled by Netflix after one season exclusive. Netflix has opted not to order a second season of Resident Evil, its action horror series loosely based on the popular video game franchise. The news, which comes a month and a half after the series' July 14th release, is not entirely surprising as the drama did not have a particularly strong showing on Netflix's top 10, and cost versus viewing is the streamer's leading renewal criterion. Running partly in the shadow of mega genre hit Stranger Things, which was released within the same time frame. That's true, it was. Resident Evil debuted at number 2 with an okay 72.7 million hours viewed, but it did not deliver the big week 2 bump one would like to see for a new series, as word of mouth spreads, raking in 73.3 million hours viewed in its second week. Oh, wow. For number 3 finish before dropping precipitously and falling out of the top 10 after only 3 weeks. The latest Resident Evil incarnation also logged underwhelming 55% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes and a 27% audience score. Netflix assembled a compelling, diverse cast for Resident Evil, and the goal is to work with them in the future. The streamer is already doing it with one of the actors, Paulo Nunes, who appears in Netflix's upcoming series Fall of the House of Usher in Fuga de Renai, a Netflix film from Latin America. Resident Evil, which hails from their showrunner Andrew Dabb, takes place in the year 2036, 14 years after a deadly virus caused a global apocalypse. Jade Wesker, Ella Balinska, fights for survival in a world overrun by the bloody, thirsty, infected, and insane creatures. In this absolute carnage, Jade is haunted by her past in the new Raccoon City, by her father's chilling connections to the Umbrella Corporation, but mostly what happened to her sister Billy and her love of Zootopia porn. So, Chad, I'm not surprised. The word of mouth on this show was horrible. There were some people that liked it. And listen, at the end of the day, you feel bad with the people that, hey, they did the best that they could do with the material. If I could be positive about it, I did, even though I don't think it was great. Anyway, I'm going to try to be positive. I did like the future stuff. Like, that was fun. There was a couple of sequences that I thought were cool. Like, I love the giant caterpillar, and the spiders. Like, there's a spider scene. I was like, that's not bad. But overall, when it came to the writing and the characters and just how they used the lore of Resident Evil, they used it willy-nilly. They didn't care. It almost felt like a very much an afterthought. And so to hear that this was canceled, I'm not surprised at all. I just, to this day, I just don't understand why they can't adapt that first game. Like, it's relatively simple, with even though when they did that most recent movie, which is also horrible. I think that might be both that most recent movie and this show are like some of the worst adaptations of Resident Evil that we've gotten in quite some time. But like with that, for whatever reason, in that movie, they decided to adapt 2 of the games, and it just felt like that's so much material. Why are you doing that? And you're taken away from each, and that's what the movie was. It didn't feel earnest. It just felt like, honestly, like a waste of time. They were rushing through so much material, and it felt cheap too. If you know you're gonna have a lower budget, then why not just focus in on one of the plot lines? And it never made any sense to me. And I just feel like you just go back to that. Just have that cool set. Do it where it's in that house, and underneath that giant mansion full of old weird creatures and monsters and traps and stuff, you have the secret laboratory. You realize because the house is a testing ground. That's what it is. And so I don't know why they just do that. Just do that. It'd be very simple. But For whatever reason, they refuse to. They refuse to for 20 fucking years. And maybe someday someone will finally go like, let's just adapt. Let's just try to adapt the first game. And yes, you know what? One of the big flaws of the Resident Evil series is the stories are dumb. And the characters are very, one-dimensional. But they do have a lot of charisma. They do have a lot of personality. That's what you just got to add to your characters in that movie. Just make them stand out. And that just seems to have been something that a lot of these filmmakers and writers have refused to do. But I'm not surprised by this cancellation show. What about you guys? What are your thoughts on, did you even see Netflix's Resident Evil series, chat? And, did you like it? Did you not like it? And how do you feel about this cancellation, chat? Me, not surprised. What about you guys? Oh, someone check on Martin. He did. Martin really liked the show. He was one of those people that really dug it. Kayla and Chris trying to sell something, this spider scene, Yeah, I feel like one of the Netflix executives. Spiders. Yeah, it's cool. Must be someone capable of doing a Zack Snyder style scene by scene remake. I don't want that. I don't want that. They have so much material with the Redfields. No, true. Yeah. But it's like a chart where they get so horned up, they need to take the high action points for every game. And it's the thing. It's like, they just feel like, okay, we're just going to take the shit that people recognize. It's like, see, here's this thing from this game and this reference, and there's the dog again. And it's like, they feel like they can just win people over by just having a visual cue or just saying like, hey, this is the guy, this is his name. It's like, it doesn't even look like him. It's like, but it's him. It's like, no, it's not. But you're right, Fresh Brew. You're right. At least I liked it. See, there are people that liked it, though. People did like it. Berserker, no, not surprised. I didn't watch it because I figured it was going to be shit, so I wasn't going to be exposed. I was going to expose myself to something I would hate. Smart. Never really had a horse in the race. Generally, it didn't really interest me. Only seen the reviews, Hamilton Burger. Toshiba, I didn't care to see it. I'm not going to miss it. Yeah, yep. This will be gone anyway. Makes it very convenient. Kayla McGee didn't bother to see it, saw clips of it, and thought it was super dumb. Literally cringe. Yeah. There is some very cringy dialogues. That's the other thing, too, that I don't understand, especially in the last movie, but also in this one. It's like, for whatever reason, the filmmakers, they want you to dislike the characters. And I'm like, why do you want that? Like, it's funny because there's been a lot of material like this particular year where they have teenagers, or especially teenage girls, I must say, where they write them to be just so precocious and rude. And I'm like, why do you keep doing that? Because then as an audience, I'm like, I have to watch these characters act this way. And it's not like they're justified in what they are doing. That's the other thing. It's like, it'd be another thing. I'm like, oh, you're justified in your behavior. Like, I get that. But they never show us that. They may throw out a line or two to like, oh, that's the reason why they're upset. But I'm like, that's not enough. Like, when you have them interact with a character who's literally just asking them like, hey, what do you like to do? Do you have a hobby? Maybe we can do it together, or I can get you connected with some kids who also share the same interests of you. And then the fucking dialogue that is delivered to that person is like, I get off to Zootopia porn. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, that does not engender me towards these characters. And it's weird. It's very, very weird. And so, yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why the show failed, because these fucking characters suck and how they're written. I don't blame the actors. I don't blame the actresses, or anything like that. It's just the material they were given was terrible, and how they were directed was terrible as well. It was frustrating, Chad. It's frustrating. Like Steelers, Resident Evil budget should have went towards a better show like Umbrella. Yeah, Umbrella Academy is also ending, but thankfully they're giving that one final season. It's getting a 4th season, chat, but then it'll be over. That's cool. Little Legs McGee, you're not late, whether you're the first hour or the last hour in between. I appreciate when you stop by. Good to see you, Little Legs McGee. So I probably love the Resident Evil games, but damn, they can't make a decent film show, which is weird. I feel like it'd be relatively simple. First, when it comes to video games, jumping media format, I wait for reviews first. Smart. And there were no really positive reviews, so I skipped it. Yeah, you're right. Kaylin, I just wish one of these video game movies or shows or movies would succeed. I want that so bad. I'm rooting for sex for expecting failure. There are, now thankfully we have gotten to that point where there have been some very good, excellent even adaptations of video games. Like, I have encouraged people to definitely check out Castlevania, which finished. They're doing a new series now, which I think is a sequel series. The first 4 seasons of Castlevania are excellent, chat. Check that show out. It's great. It improves upon. It takes the material from those games, but also expands on them and gives a lot of depth to these characters, which didn't really have a lot of depth. The show does that. It added to it, which was great in a very positive way. And then most recently, Chad, another Netflix adaptation, Arcane, which is a animated adaptation of League of Legends, which I had very, minimal experience with League of Legends. Might have played it like one or twice at like a con scenario. I was like, all right, whatever. But then that was like my favorite piece of media last year. That show was absolutely brilliant, Chad. Beautifully, obviously animated, wonderful characters, great running. The voice acting was impeccable, Chad. The music, was great. Incredible show. And then even some movies that we've gotten recently, like, listen, I ain't a fan of the games, but the Sonic films have been fun. I really like Sonic 1. I like Sonic 2 a lot. That was even better than the first film. So we are getting some of that, right now. The Witcher, we know Witcher, well, it's kind of weird because it's like, okay, there's the games, but it's also based in the books more so, but sure. So there have been some good adaptations, and I do encourage you or anyone else who hasn't seen them before to check them out. But now we've gotten to a point where, okay, we can point to excellent adaptations like these and say, like, there's no excuse. There's no excuse for these really half-assed adaptations. So I'm hoping that's what will happen in the future. Listen, we're gonna get a good Resident Evil movie, Chad. Probably get a good Resident Evil film series. It just hasn't happened yet. One of the things that needs to definitely happen though is Constantine Films, who owns the licenses. The film and television licenses, that needs to be taken away from them because they've been responsible for the last 20 fucking years of all these Resident Evil movies and TV shows, and they've just been bad. They just don't care. All right. I can't stand it. Like, they're the common denominator in a lot of this, and that needs to be taken from them. So we'll see, chap. We'll see. Yeah, The Last of Us, they had The Last of Us show. We reacted to, got a little trolled last Sunday. The Last of Us, I have to admit, like, I only saw like, less than 22 seconds of it, right? But even then, I'm just not really excited for it. And it's not to say like they don't have talented people behind the camera. They do. They have two very talented actors, Chad. I can always forget the little girl's name. She played Lyanna Mormont in Game of Thrones. Fuck, everyone went, who the hell is this kid? She did a very good job there. And obviously Pedro Pascal is again, another incredible actor, also from Game of Thrones. Brought him to prominence. Also a great actor. The thing about Naughty Dog's games, their most recent games the last 15 or so years, is that they're so cinematic. From Uncharted to The Last of Us. And those stories are so well written. Those characters are well written. They're well acted. And I mean, it's like I'm playing a movie sometimes, which is great. And I'm like, then why? I mean, why even bother like adapting? I mean, it feels so real to begin with. It's like, what's the point? And so that's why I'm not. I mean, listen, it could be good. And I feel like people have been telling me this, and it's true. People who don't play video games, this will be their first time being exposed to a show like this. And so I'm like, okay, then I think that's fair. That's fair, because, people are just like, listen, video game's not my thing. It's not a medium I touch. I'm like, okay. And, probably would be difficult to have them, like, watch the cutscenes because even there's stuff, context missing, how things transition, goes from gameplay then into a cutscene, that kind of thing. And so, it would unlikely that they would watch that. And so this is another way that they could be exposed to it. And hopefully, I think for those people, it's going to be great for them. But for someone like myself, and maybe for some other people who have already played the games, it'll be like, this is kind of diminishing returns. It's unnecessary. So, but we'll see. I'm hoping, yes, it'll deliver, like you said, Kingpin. I'm hoping it'll be good. Oh, and Cuphead. No, I like Cuphead. I'm sorry, I forgot. I have new episodes coming. I like Cuphead a lot. There's some great stuff in there. Recently just started playing, funny enough, the Cuphead game again, which I'll be playing tonight. Yeah, Cuphead's another great example. That's a very good adaptation. I like it quite a bit. So, yeah, we'll see.